Well, thank you for joining me, viewers. Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison, theologist, New South Wales, Australia. We're on the run. It's a bit noisy this morning with the rain on the road. I'm going to carry on this track anyway. We'll get under the bridge and around we're going to the gym. Covert emotional incest is something that has taken place usually before you come along to this family. It happens because of parental breakdown. Most marriages start on the right foot with great anticipation, tremendous hope, wonderful plans, and tremendous commitment. But as usual, the sinful nature has a way of turning the whole thing into a laughing stock. Job chapter 12 verse 4, I am a laughing stock to my friends. Though I called on God and he answered the righteous, an upright man. And upright man is a laughing stock. The narcissist makes a laughing stock, or tries to make a laughing stock, perceives good people as something to simply be a laughing stock. This goes for men and women, the way in which they're treated and perceived. You have to be aware of this. You have to take no prisoners when it comes to self-respect, the way in which you are perceived, being able to discern people that are just got a mindset that's going to treat you cheaply. These are all the covert dynamics and ways in which covert emotional incest works in the mind of the partner who is in it. I spoke to a young woman who married a golden child. She didn't know he was a golden child at the time. She was too excited about the whole relationship. And what happens is these characteristic micro-incremental dark triad traits don't surface until after the relationship's established. And you're bonded and soul-tied to the person. Then all of a sudden, little hiccups start to happen. How are you, mate? You're dropping a bit of weight, mate, if I could say. Consistency. As these things start to surface, it can set off alarm bells. But it's a matter of whether we're going to pay attention to them or listen to them or not. This is the difficulty. This is the confronting part. Morning. This is the part where we have to take stock and understand that people will change as time goes along. You have to give time for the relationship to either mature or to mature, and then see what kind of fruit the fusion is going to develop. Some relationships bear fruit for good, some relationships bear fruit for bad. And the point of the fact of the matter is, it doesn't sometimes it doesn't matter whether you're good or bad. You're going to be judged according to the core values and principles and understandings of the person that you're with. And 9 times out of 10, given the statistics now, it's not going to be correct. Now, I've been in relationships with good women for the base measurement of who they are and how they act. They're good women. But covert emotional incest has a way of holding these people captive to their extramaternal bond. If you spot covert emotional incest early in a relationship, my advice is, from experience, best you don't say anything. Best you just weigh it up, have the courage to say to yourself, my goodness, not this again. Or if it's your first time, call it for what it is and walk away. Let somebody else who has different values to you and is happy to put up with it have a go at it, because they will be neglected, they will be abused, and they will be a throwaway. Covert emotional incest will throw you away, because the core power of that person, no matter how hard they try, stays in the maternal DNA area of their life. Excuse me. It's not your business. It wasn't your business before you were there, and it's not your business after you're gone. If you find yourself in a covert emotional incest situation, I promise you it's going to be ugly. It's going to be punishing. It's going to be without relent. It's determined. It'll pull you down behind your back. It'll make you suffer. It'll allow you to make you suffer. And if there's drugs involved, times it by 10, because these people will be living their life around the drug, the alcohol, the medications, or all. They have no self-awareness whatsoever. They will not be aware of where you're at within yourself or the relationship. They'll push you and push you and push you to incredible ends. You'll find yourself constantly having to check this and check that. Got to check this and I've got to check that in terms of how the relationship's tracking. They'll go missing. They'll be lazy relative to the relationship. The communication part of the relationship can, on the emotional level, primarily go to the covert emotional incestual relationship, particularly for the substance users, because they congregate back to the substance. I've had two ladies that I've supported while they've been in hospital. One couldn't wait to get home for the weed. The other one couldn't wait to get home for the medications. It wasn't about going home, it was about getting back to the substance, because they go through withdrawal. Covert emotional incest is like a disease. It gets into places where it doesn't belong. It violates your privacy. It undermines your integrity. It tries to demasculinize and defemininize its victims. The closer you get to your partner, the more you see it manifest. If you bring it up, you'll spur the person to try and find a way of avoiding it, but they can't, because there's usually, whilst both of these people are usually infantile, one will be more infantile than the other, and there'll be contentions, derision, sickness feigning, problem feigning, particularly attention seeking from the person that you're with by the covert emotional incestual partner. The hostility will build towards you if the person that you're in the relationship with doesn't set boundaries. You will be alarmed, you'll become distressed, you'll begin to starve emotionally, you'll begin to question yourself. This is how covert emotional incest works. It tries to condition you, or as Sam Vaknin says, entrain you to accept it as part of your relationship, with the priority going to the covert emotional incest. You sit and wait. I've heard of stories where women have been in hospital. One woman was in hospital getting a brain operation, and her husband's mother rang up. She couldn't find the cat or the car keys or something like this. She lived 3 hours away. She rang up. Instead of going to the hospital post-operation for his wife, he went to find the car keys or the cat for the mother. The hospital and the nurses couldn't find him. By the time he surfaced, that was the point where this woman decided that the marriage was not worth pursuing. You'll find these people will come and charge themselves up on your clarity and strength and persona and all the work you've done in life, to return back to their victim hidey hole, where they'll refuel on drugs and propping each other up emotionally with that victim look. If things aren't going their way, they'll walk around with a sullen mindset. Sullen, the world hates me and I hate the world, in a passive aggressive form. You'll be pushed to the side, you'll be misunderstood, you'll be used. It's extra maternal. It's gone past, way past a healthy maternal bond. One woman I knew, husband was a alcoholic, drug addict, one of these pub people like my stepfather. In fact, I've met several of these women. One of them, the husband actually died. He drank himself to death. They've got erectile dysfunction. They're unintimate. They become childish and psychologically abusive in the passive-aggressive form. They're negligent, selfish. They are infatuated with themselves. They use their mothers as a form of reinforcement, psychological reinforcement. They'll sit and rest their head on their mother's breast. They'll look at their mother's breasts in a sort of a mouth-watering way. They'll brush up against each other. They'll call each other intimate names. They'll be talking, and when you get home, the conversation will change because a lot of the time it's about you or their partner. They're undermining and stroking each other's loyalty to each other by pulling down and complaining about their relationships. You feel like an outsider, an alien. You're not in the circle, but you're sleeping with this person. They give money to each other that they shouldn't. Your money in some cases, they steal. The narcissistic ones, mummy's boys, will meet a woman and ask for a loan and never pay it back because they never had to pay mummy back. And these loans can often be tens of thousands of dollars. These people meet good people and don't know how to translate it into anything positive for themselves. They undermine their relationships. They undermine themselves and each other. Covert emotional incest is like walking through a prairie full of lions, hoping that they won't attack. And if they do, you're usually prepared to give a limb just to stay in the relationship. You're prepared to be partly eaten by the lions for the relationship. You're prepared to try and pat the lions for the relationship, only to have fingers go missing, scratching. The hyenas, you think you can live with the hyenas, but you can't. They take all your psychological food. They pulverize your partner who loves it because they've got the hyena mentality themselves. They disguise themselves as doing good in the community, but it's all for money to supply their habits. Covert emotional incest is the black mamba, as far as I'm concerned. The black mamba that the narcissist doesn't want to come into contact with, because even the narcissist can't beat these narcissists. The venom and the poison of covert emotional incest leaves you in rack and ruin. Your mind thinks on these people for years later, wondering, how did they do what they did to you? You'll be sexually seduced, even if the sex isn't all that good. You'll still be sexually seduced because it's like you're fighting for someone that's in an affair. So you give a deeper source of attention, and this then impregnates itself into your determination, and you become devoted and determined to win this person over, but you're never going to beat the loyalty bind that they have. You're just part of a disloyal aspect of their lives. You're disloyal. You're not in the circle. They will put you outside the circle. You won't be invited to certain family events because somebody's decided that you're not good enough, and they're grubs themselves, absolute grubs usually. They'll make up stories, they'll defame you, attack your decades and decades of discipline and decision making and work on yourself, and you look at these parasites and think to yourself, oh my goodness me, how does somebody come to this? How are you, mate? But you stay determined because you've got to win this person over. You're in the game, the covert emotional incest game. It's like a wind tunnel that you can't get out of, that you're being held in. You know in the back of your mind it's not healthy, it's not good for you, it's not going to go good for you, and it's not going to end well for you, and never does. I knew a man that was married to a golden child female narcissist. Her father spoiled her beyond recognition. If she said jump, the father would jump, even so far as driving to the shop to get bread and milk. And it all looks family orientated, but it's not. There's more going on. She'd have a cup of tea waiting for the father, and when he got to her place, she'd run her fingers through his hair. Thank you, Daddy. The mother was jealous of the daughter. The daughter and the mother never spoke because the mother feared that the daughter would cross. Well, the daughter had already crossed enough boundaries for the mother to dislike her. Not unsimilar to the woman in the Bible whose daughter danced for Herod, and it cost John the Baptist his head. They're vicious, malicious. The father would sit and drink his cup of tea or coffee, and then she would sit to drink hers, and he would come up behind her and brush her hair. I'm talking about 50 and 60-year-old men grooming their daughters. They would kiss on the lips when he left, but not in front of the mother, only when the mother wasn't there. She lost the marriage, ended up trying to start a couple of other relationships, and gave in the end and surrendered to the father visiting. Just the visiting of the father. The mother wouldn't go there. The mother despised the daughter because of the love and affection that the father had for her. So she lived on her own with a poodle named Spock. Bizarre, isn't it? Absolutely bizarre. The mother died young, actually. I remember the mother's funeral. The daughter went and played the part of the great organizer of the funeral. She played the part of the golden daughter who loved her mother so dearly. Nobody knew what had happened between the mother and the daughter for decades. And the daughter played the perfect role at the funeral. How wonderful Mum was, how great she was. And at the end of the funeral, when everybody, a couple of months later, she moved in with the father. The father never remarried, he was too old. And this is how a lot of people end up. That's what covert emotional incest does. It's real. It happens every day. You need to recognize it and call it for what it is. Ask yourself if you're prepared to be on your own to escape from it and heal. Some people never recover from the trauma and the negligence that it does to them because they're not sure exactly what happened. They could never describe what the problem was, what happened to them. It's covert emotional incest, parentification, parent-child enmeshment. It is not the maternal standard source of love. It's gone beyond that. It's extra maternal, evil, destructive. It takes people out in its path, everything in its path, and these people usually end up together. There's more 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old sons living with their mothers now than ever before. It's unprecedented. The mothers end up just being in love with their sons, wifing them. They just wife to their sons. Nobody wants them. They become old and ugly. They shave because they've become masculine themselves through their hatred for men, because nobody would tolerate the way that they were. Don't tolerate covert emotional incest. It's robbing you. It's mapping itself in you, trying to condition you. That's why it's so hard to get over it. It's narcissistic. It's micro-incremental dark triad narcissistic. And some people never ever recover from its abuse. One thing's for sure, the parent-child never recover from the abuse and the destruction that it brings to their lives, the ugliness and the crawling, horrible evil of it. Walk away. Just walk away. Reverend Dr. J.W. Morrison. Bye for now.